My story. Chapter 1. The Coming Storm. Captain Jonah Hale stood on the bridge of the USS Elysium, staring at the swirling clouds of Arvetta below. The ship's systems hummed around him, a comforting backdrop to the tension brewing in the galaxy. He wore the weight of responsibility like armor. Humanity had reached out into the stars, but the exploration of new worlds came with its share of hazards. Status report, Ensign Lyra, Jonah said, turning towards the young officer at the controls. All systems are nominal, Captain. We're on course for orbital entry, she replied, her fingers flying over the console. The crew had been trained to manage a variety of situations, but today felt different. A sense of anticipation hung in the air. Good. Let's make sure our diplomatic channels are open. I want communication with the Arvedians secure before we touch down. He moved to the viewport, his gaze lingering on the vibrant blue-green surface. Wild forests and crystalline lakes gleamed in the sunlight. Captain, First Officer Marcus Rivera interjected, his voice steady and low. Are you concerned about the Zeekrath? They've been unusually active on the fringes of Arvetta space. Jonah sighed, running a hand through his dark hair. I worry about their intentions. Once they smell conflict, they don't back down. Agreed, Marcus said, crossing his arms. But we're not here to start a war. We're diplomats today. Let's hope we can keep it that way, Jonah muttered, his mind already racing ahead to the potential scenarios. A sudden, sharp chime interrupted his thoughts. The ship had entered orbit. Captain, we're in position, Lyra announced, preparing to transmit our arrival coordinates. Excellent. Let's connect with their leaders, he said, raising an eyebrow. And hopefully, they'll respond with more than just hostility. As the minutes ticked by, Jonah observed the faces of his crew, each one reflecting a mix of excitement and unease. Finally, a screen lit up with a calm green glow. The image of an Arvedian delegation flickered into view. An elder Arvedian with luminescent skin appeared before them, his deep-set eyes studying Jonah with a curious intensity. Welcome, humans of the Elysium. The elder spoke, his voice smooth like flowing water. I am Eldar Zareth, leader of the Arvedians. We have awaited your arrival. Thank you, Eldar Zareth. I'm Captain Jonah Hale, and these are my colleagues, Jonah said, gesturing to Marcus and Lyra. We're here to further our understanding of each other. The United Earth Federation values the potential of peaceful relations. The elder nodded, but Jonah could sense a lingering hesitation. We appreciate your intentions, but the threat of the Zeekrath looms ever closer. Our previous ambassadors faced challenges when discussing peace. Challenges we hope to address, Marcus interjected, leaning closer to the view screen. We want to assist in safeguarding your civilization as well. Diplomatic solutions require trust on both sides. Eldar Zareth looked back and forth between them, clearly intrigued by the humans' fervor. Then we welcome you to our world. Our Council of Light awaits your arrival. However, the Zeekrath remain a menace. We must remain vigilant. Understood, Jonah replied, feeling the weight of the moment. We'll proceed with caution. Preparing shuttle launch. The transmission ended and Jonah couldn't shake the feeling that the air was thickening with uncertainty. Let's hope our arrival doesn't spark more concern, he said to the room at large. Lyra, you're with me in the shuttle. Marcus, remain here and monitor communications. Of course, Captain, Lyra said, her enthusiasm evident. This will be fascinating. Jonah felt a smile break through his serious demeanor. Just remember to be respectful of their customs. We're guests here. Always the diplomat, she teased. After a brief pre-launch check, they boarded the shuttle, its sleek form ready to glide through the thin atmosphere. Jonah settled into the pilot's seat and initiated the launch sequence. The shuttle jettisoned from the Elysium with a gentle lurch, plunging into the deep colors of the planet's surface. The view was breathtaking, vibrant rainforests unfolding under terrifyingly beautiful clouds. Lyra leaned closer to the viewport, her eyes wide with wonder. Look at that, she exclaimed, pointing at a sparkling waterfall cascading down into a shimmering lake below. This place is incredible. It really is, Jonah agreed, sharing her awe. The lush colors were unlike anything he had seen on Earth. I can see why the Arvedians value their land so much. When we get a chance, I'd love to take you on a tour, Lyra said, her tone softer. Is that an invitation? Jonah asked, glancing at her with a half-smile. Only if we survive the meeting, Lyra quipped, her eyes sparkling with mischief. Right, Jonah chuckled, feeling the jitters of excitement mixed with tension. Just then, a warning light blinked on the control panel, interrupting the moment. Jonah's heart sank. What's that? Lyra quickly scanned the console. It's a proximity alert. Zkrath ships have entered the system. Of course they have, Jonah muttered under his breath. He deftly maneuvered the shuttle into an evasive pattern, but it felt futile. Captain, they're heading directly for us, Lyra warned, her voice steady despite the surge of adrenaline. We need to land now. Jonah barked. The shuttle's descent accelerated, the lush foliage rushing to meet them as he aimed for a clearing. Just as he touched down, a blast from a Zkrath ship illuminated the sky, narrowly missing them. Hold on, Jonah shouted as they rocked from the impact. The shuttle skidded to a stop, but they were safe for now. Are we going to be okay? Lyra asked, her confidence shaky. Jonah glanced at her, feeling a surge of determination. We will be. We just need to reach the Arvedians and coordinate our next move. As they stepped out, he caught a glimpse of Arvedians assembling in the distance, their eyes wide with concern. Although danger lurked above, a new chapter was unfolding and Jonah was ready to face it shoulder to shoulder with his newfound ally. ## Chapter 2, Crossing Paths. Jonah stepped out of the shuttle onto the vibrant, grassy terrain of Arveda, taking a deep breath of the fresh air. The sweet scent of alien flora surrounded him. Sweet, fragrant blooms sprinkled the landscape, their colors vibrant against the soft green of the foliage. He turned to Lyra, whose eyes were wide with wonder as she assessed their surroundings. Can you believe this place? She said, spinning around to take it all in. It's impressive, for sure, Jonah replied, feeling a little lighter as he watched her excitement. But we should remain focused. The Arvedians are coming. Before he could say more, a group of tall Arvedians, each with glowing skin and expressive features, approached. Eldar Zareth stepped forward, the tranquility in his demeanor contrasting sharply with the chaos of the moment. Welcome, humans. We sensed your arrival and saw the conflict above, he said, his voice steady and warm. We are prepared to address the Zkrath. Eldar Zareth, we appreciate your quick action, Jonah said, trying to keep his own rising anxiety in check. We need to discuss how we can work together against their incursions. As the delegation surrounded the humans, Eldar Zareth led them through lush gardens toward an imposing yet serene building made of bioluminescent materials. Soft lights glowed from within, casting a welcoming aura as Jonah and Lyra followed closely behind. Your ship, Zareth remarked, glancing at the shuttle, is a marvel of engineering. But the threat is serious. We must act calm, or the Zkrath will sense our fear. No one's afraid, Jonah replied, rallying himself. We're here to build trust. That's the first step. When they entered the council chamber, Jonah was struck by the elegant design. It was circular, with a ceiling resembling a starry sky. A central table shimmered in the light, adorned with symbols representing both species, a display of unity. Please sit, Zareth offered, gesturing towards the seats. We have much to discuss. As they settled in, Jonah exchanged a glance with Lyra. She nodded, encouraging him to speak up. First, we need to comprehend the Zkrath's strategy. What do you know about their recent movements? Jonah asked, leaning forward. A younger Arvetian named Glara, her gaze sharp, answered. They've been gathering forces on the outskirts of our territory. Rumors suggest they are planning a full-scale attack, ready to seize our resources. We cannot let this happen. Jonah nodded, his mind racing. We've faced threats before. Perhaps we could blend your technology with ours for intelligence gathering. Drones, surveillance? I can assist with that, Lyra interjected eagerly. The Arvedians have unique flora that can camouflage technology almost flawlessly. We can create devices that become virtually invisible. The Zkrath would never see us coming. The meld between your species' approaches may indeed help us, Zareth said, his wise eyes considering the possibilities. But we must also know how to persuade the Zkrath to reconsider their position without inciting more violence. Could we send them a message? Jonah proposed, leaning back in his seat. Offer trade? A chance for cooperation? Maybe even a demonstration of what the Arvedians can contribute without antagonizing them. It was Glara who spoke again. News of your capabilities could intrigue them. But do you really believe the Zkrath would respond to reason? They revel in domination. Jonah hesitated, weighing his words. Sometimes fear is just as effective as force. If we showcase our strengths together, they might think twice about attacking. Perhaps we can set a trap, Lyra said, her enthusiasm bubbling over. How about we create an extravagant demonstration of our combined strengths? We could show off technology, culture, all designed to impress. If they see the chance for mutual benefit, they may not act aggressively. Jonah felt a surge of exhilaration along with the dread. A display can work, but there's a risk. We need to be careful. Zareth nodded, considering. We will take your suggestion to heart. But we must act with precision. Gather your teams, ready your equipment. When do you wish to stage this? We need time to prepare, Jonah said, meeting Lyra's gaze. We need to know their ships, their systems. Can we assemble a joint task force? The council murmured in agreement. We will assist you, Zareth said solemnly. Your courage is appreciated. Once the meeting ended, the council dismissed itself, allowing Jonah and Lyra a moment of reprieve. Jonah took a deep breath, sinking back into his chair. I think we really might pull this off, Jonah said, glancing at Lyra. Your idea was brilliant. Lyra beamed, a flush touching her cheeks. Thank you, Captain. We can draw on each other's strengths and showcase that we're more formidable together. As they discussed potential strategies and technologies, the atmosphere lightened. Jonah watched her enthusiasm, feeling inspired. By the way, he said, glancing at her with a teasing grin, you seem less alien every time we talk. Lyra laughed, a melodious sound that seemed to dance around the room. And you're becoming less Terran, I suppose? Jonah raised an eyebrow. Is that a compliment or an insult? Definitely a compliment, she replied with a grin, playfully nudging his arm. Well, I'll take it, he said, feeling lighter. An idea sparked in his mind. What if we set up an evening tradition? We can exchange cultural stories and I'll share Earth's legends while you share your own. Lyra's eyes glinted with excitement. That sounds incredible. I can share the story of how we came to coexist with the flora of our planet. Perfect, Jonah replied, his heart racing with anticipation. Let's make sure our people know what they're doing and then we can put on a show like no other. Just as footprints echoed in the hallway, Zareth entered once again, his expression serene. You are inspired, Captain. No turning back now, Jonah replied with newfound conviction. Together, we'll make sure both our peoples find common ground. And I believe we will, Zareth replied, glancing toward Lyra. With your enthusiasm echoing through the chamber, how can we not? As Jonah and Lyra exchanged shy glances, the weight of their mission settled between them. The path ahead would not be easy, but with trust and determination, they felt prepared to navigate whatever lay ahead, side by side. Chapter 3, The Choice. In the days that followed, Jonah and Lyra worked tirelessly to prepare for the upcoming demonstration. The mood in the Arvedians' council chambers shifted from tense to determined. Collaborations between the two species galvanized their teams, sparking creativity and tangible excitement. Lyra, do you think the Zkrath will really be swayed by our efforts? Jonah asked one evening as they reviewed a holographic map of the demonstration area. I think they'll be intrigued, especially if we showcase both our technology and culture, she replied, pointing at the multicolored markers that represented different displays. We need to highlight our strengths, but we have to do it cleverly. Jonah raised an eyebrow. What do you mean? The Zkrath value power above all else. If we make them see that joining forces with us can enhance their own standing, they might reconsider their aggression. That's a solid plan, he said, admiring her insight. What else can we include? Any special traditions from your people? Definitely. I was thinking we could incorporate a dance, something that reflects the harmony of our partnership. It could symbolize unity, she said, her enthusiasm palpable. And we can juxtapose that with a demonstration of your technologies. Jonah couldn't help but smile. I'd love to see that. And maybe I can show them how Earthlings celebrate with music. She tilted her head, curiosity dancing in her eyes. What kind of music do you have in mind? Something with a powerful rhythm. Most of our ceremonies rely on it to bring people together. It invites participation, everyone joins in. I like the sound of that, she said, leaning closer. It might offer a nice balance to your demonstrations. We should prepare a list. Just then, Marcus stepped into the chamber, interrupting their conversation. Hey, hushed citizens of the universe. Is this where the planning party is happening? He placed his hands on his hips, feigning seriousness. Depends, Jonah replied with a grin. Are you ready to help with the preparations or merely here to provide comic relief? Hey, I can do both. But in all seriousness, do you need backup for upcoming rehearsals? Marcus said, a spark of enthusiasm igniting his voice. Actually, we could use some extra hands, Lyra admitted. Would you help coordinate the technology displays? They will need fine-tuning to ensure everything runs seamlessly. Consider it done, he replied with a salute, then added, but I expect to be dazzled by your talents as well, Lyra. Jonah chuckled, watching the playful exchange. Just be careful. They come for our heads and we might get too caught up in the arts. With their team solidified, they set to work and the atmosphere shifted from apprehension to anticipation. Over the next few days, they fine-tuned every detail, integrating Arvedi and human elements into a harmonious showcase. On the day of the demonstration, Jonah stood before the massive, brightly illuminated stage in the central square of the Arvedians' capital. The area buzzed with energy, colorful energy lights illuminating the excited faces of both species. "Are we ready?" Jonah asked as he reviewed the final preparations with Lyra and Marcus. "Absolutely. The drone displays are set to launch with the music," Marcus confirmed, glancing at the tech team. Lyra stood nearby, her luminescent skin glowing even brighter in the twilight. "The dance troops will arrive shortly. I hope they manage to capture the essence of our connection." "They will," Jonah assured her. "And once the audience feels the vibe, they'll be eager to heed our message." As the sun dipped below the horizon, the first waves of the audience began gathering. Arvedians and humans alike shouted greetings and exchanged excited remarks, creating a collective buzz. Jonah kept his gaze scanning, looking for any signs of Zkrath. "Do you think they're watching?" he asked Lyra, feeling slightly uneasy. "I hope they will," she replied. "The Zkrath enjoy spectacle. If they see us celebrating rather than fighting, it might distract them long enough to understand. Well, let's make sure to give them a show they won't forget." Jonah offered her a smile, hoping to calm his own nerves. Finally, Zareth addressed the audience, his voice resonating with warmth. "Welcome. Today we unite to showcase our strengths and what we can accomplish together. May our collaboration inspire not only us but also those who wish to disrupt our peace." With a nod, Jonah took a deep breath, signaling Marcus and Lyra to initiate the first phase. The music began, a rhythmic beat pulsing through the crowd, drawing both Arvedians and humans onto their feet. As Jonah moved to the front, the drones shot into the sky, their forms glinting in the fading light. They began a synchronized dance, their movements seamless against the music. "Now, Lyra," Jonah called out. As the music reached a crescendo, Lyra led her dancers to the forefront. The Arvedians moved gracefully, their movements flowing like waves, each step a testament to their culture and unity with nature. Jonah caught sight of several Zkrath ships hovering ominously in the distance. His heart raced as he forced his focus back to his performance. "Stay focused, everyone," he shouted, urging the team onward. The performances continued, a blend of traditional earth dances and Arvedi choreography, a seamless weaving of cultures. Jonah felt the energy build, each movement connecting them closer together. He began to clap, guiding the audience to join in. "Come on, show them our rhythm." As they clapped and cheered, it was a unified sound that reverberated throughout the square. Jonah locked eyes with Lyra, who smiled and twirled into a graceful motion that captivated everyone. "Just keep going. We need to show them what we can do," Jonah shouted above the music. Their combined efforts flowed organically, igniting the passion in everyone present. Laughter and cheers echoed, breaking the tension that had settled in the air. "Here we go. Use the projector," Marcus called from the side, pointing toward a blank wall behind the stage. With a flicker, images of the lush Arvedi landscapes combined with Earth's wonders danced across the wall. Dramatic visuals showcasing tales of cooperation, innovation, and triumph flooded the space. And yet, Jonah's anxiety remained, feeling that hidden threat lurking somewhere above. Suddenly, a faint vibration rippled through the ground. Jonah's stomach dropped. What was that? "Stay alert," Lyra warned, stilling her dancers. "It might be nothing but the Zkrath. They could see us as a challenge." Before Jonah could respond, a foreboding shadow passed overhead. The Zkrath ships, their metallic 4ly, the massive ship fired a warning shot that illuminated the night sky. The crowd froze, caught between awe and dread. "Don't stop," Jonah shouted desperately, urging everyone on. The music surged louder, pounding in their ears as they continued to dance, hoping to convey their unity despite the looming threat. "We have to take a stand," Jonah called out, looking around. "Together, we cannot be intimidated." Glancing at the Zkrath ships overhead, he felt their weight pressing down. But as he looked at Lyra, he remembered their purpose. They had a chance to unite against this menace. "Where's Zareth?" Jonah asked Marcus, trying to keep his composure. "We need to make this about us," Marcus replied, securing his stance on the stage. "We'll do it together." Jonah took a deep breath, letting the rhythmic energy flow through him. "Let's give them a show they won't forget." And with one final push, Jonah reached for Lyra's hand, their fingers interlocking firmly. They joined the dance, the Arvedians and humans around them amplifying the force of unity against the ominous shadow above. As the Zkrath ships positioned themselves closer, the ground beneath them trembled. They were ready to act, but so were Jonah and Lyra. It was a choice between fear and unity, and Jonah tightened his grip, expressing a determination that echoed in the air all around them. Chapter 4, Drawn Together. The atmosphere thickened as the Zkrath ships hovered ominously over the demonstration, their metallic forms reflecting the vibrant colors of the performance below. Jonah tightened his grip on Lyra's hand, his heart racing as he tried to keep the gathered crowd from panicking. "This is not good," Jonah muttered, trying to focus on the dance and keep the energy alive. "We need to maintain their attention." "I agree," Lyra replied, her voice steady despite the chaos. "We can't show fear. Let's keep the performance going." Jonah nodded, and together they turned to face the audience. The music swelled, creating a rhythm that he hoped would drown out the rumbling of the ships above. He stepped forward, raising his arms, encouraging everyone to join in. "Come on. Keep dancing," Jonah shouted, his voice carrying over the thrumming beat. "Show them who we are." Lyra took a step forward, her radiant presence captivating the crowd. "This is our moment. We are not just two races, we are one people united in celebration. Let the Zkrath see that we fear nothing." Encouraged by her words, the audience responded, their voices rising in unison, clapping and swaying to the music. Jonah felt a swell of pride as he watched people from both species move together, their differences blending into one harmonious flow. As they danced, the Zkrath ships shifted position, seemingly annoyed by the display. A shadow passed overhead and Jonah glanced up, anxiety creeping back in. "Marcus," he shouted, spotting his first officer at the edge of the crowd. "Can you communicate with the Elysium? We need to inform them about the Zkrath." "Already on it," Marcus replied, pulling out his communicator. "I'll see if we can get backup or at least more intel on their movements." Suddenly, a burst of energy streaked down from one of the ships, striking the ground nearby. Dust and light exploded outward, sending a wave of startled gasps through the audience. "Everyone, stay calm," Jonah yelled, trying to reassure them. "We can't let this affect us." Lyra's eyes locked on Jonah's, as if sensing his anxiety. "We need to stand our ground, Jonah. If we show we can combine our strength, we may just intimidate them enough to reconsider." "Right," Jonah agreed, his mind racing with possibilities. "We need a display. Something bold. Light the drones," Marcus called out, rushing back to Jonah's side. "They need to be activated for the distraction." "Let's do it," Jonah shouted, spinning toward the command center. He reached out to Lyra as they hurried together, determination igniting a fire within them. "If we use the drones to perform a high-energy light show, we can draw their attention and make our point." As they reached the control panel, Jonah activated a connection, communicating with the tech team overseeing the drones. "We need to start the light display. Make it grand and draw their attention." "On it, Captain," one of the technicians shouted back, fingers flying across the controls. Jonah took a deep breath, feeling the weight of every eye upon him. "We can do this." With a flick of a switch, the drones soared into the night sky, executing complex maneuvers, leaving trails of light in their wake. The audience gasped, mesmerized by the display. Jonah and Lyra stood side by side, their hands still intertwined as brilliant colors burst forth from the drones, illuminating the area. "Now let's get creative," Jonah encouraged, leaning towards Lyra. "Do you think we can incorporate some of your traditional patterns?" "Yes. We can overlay our bioluminescent patterns to make it even more captivating," she exclaimed, excitement threading through her voice. "Let's do it," Jonah called out, turning back toward the command center. "Make it look like an intricate tapestry in the night sky." The drones twirled and spiraled, weaving colors in harmony with the Arvedi patterns Lyra spoke of. The spectacle above became a vivid tapestry of light, dazzling the audience, their earlier fear momentarily forgotten in the glow of unity. From the corner of his vision, Jonah spotted movement on the Zkrath ships. A transmission? He strained to listen, hoping to catch a response, but the drums of music and cheers drowned out everything else. "Look," Marcus shouted, his eyes wide. "They're adjusting their formation." "What does that mean?" Jonah asked, keeping his gaze fixed above. "It means they're intrigued, maybe even confused," Lyra interjected. "This is a chance. If they're uncertain, it may be enough to draw their focus away from the threat." At that moment, Jonah's determination solidified. "Let's give them a show they won't forget." Pumping energy into the performance, he turned to the audience. "Everyone, on the count of 3. I want to hear the loudest demonstration of unity we can muster." The crowd echoed his energy, eyes sparkling with excitement. 1, 2, 3. Together, they shouted, their voices merging into one powerful roar that cut through the night. The lights from the drones flared, igniting even brighter, mimicking their call. Now, I want everyone to jump. Jonah commanded, the adrenaline coursing through him. With a synchronized movement, the crowd leaped into the air, a living wave of solidarity as the lights overhead twinkled in sync. Jonah felt electric, watching members of both species intertwine their movements in celebration. He could see the weariness begin to fade as they embraced the moment. Just then, the Z-craft ships hovered closer, their darkened forms outlined against the light show. Jonah's heart raced, but he could feel Lyra's steady presence beside him, grounding him. "Here we go," he murmured. "We need to make this count." The flashy display reached its pinnacle and Jonah turned back to the audience. "This is our last chance. We stand for unity, cooperation, and peace." Suddenly, a shimmer of energy cascaded down from the Z-craft ships, illuminating the gathered crowd. Jonah squinted, unsure of what would happen next. But just as the light started to encircle them, an unexpected transmission echoed through the night air, broadcast from the Z-craft ships. "Humans and Arvedians," a distorted voice rang out. "You display great courage and talent. But know this, it means little unless you can prove your strength." Jonah felt his heart sink, but he could hear Marcus's voice nearby, urging encouragement. "We can handle whatever they throw at us, right? What do we do now?" Lyra asked, looking concerned. "Let's show them who we really are," Jonah said, resolving to take their stance boldly. "We'll answer the challenge with unity. Show them a coalition they can't ignore." He turned to the audience again, determination hardening his resolve. "Are you with us?" The crowd erupted into cheers. "Together. Then let's demonstrate that our strength lies not in violence, but in our numbers and creativity. Let's keep pushing forward." With that, Jonah felt a rush of energy flow through him. He looked at Lyra, her hands still gripping his, and saw confidence in her gaze. "Let's dazzle them together." "Together," she echoed, and they began anew, dancing with fervor, pulling the audience along, uniting their races against the lingering threat. Jonah drew in deep breaths, pouring his heart into each movement, hoping that this display of combined strength would either inspire the Z-craft to reconsider or drive them away entirely. As the night rolled on and the colors danced across the sky, Jonah felt the resolve of the audience fuel him, his spirit soaring alongside the illuminating spectacle. In that unity, he found a new strength, a shared purpose that overshadowed fear. They were not just separate beings, they were a single force, drawn together by the promise of something greater. Chapter 5, A New Dawn. The night wore on, and Jonah felt the thrill of the performance swirl around him. The audience's energy pulsed along with the vibrant colors from above, transforming the central square into a kaleidoscope of movement and light. He could see the Z-craft ships hovering ever closer, their shadows looming, but Jonah focused on the crowd, his heart racing with purpose. "Let's keep it going," he shouted, his voice cutting through the music as he turned to Lyra. "We have to maintain their attention." Lyra nodded, her eyes sparkling even in the dim light. "I'll signal the dancers for another round. We need to combine energy and artistry. Show them that our cultures complement each other." Jonah glanced back at Marcus, who was still operating the communication devices. "Any updates from the Elysium?" Marcus shook his head, a tense expression crossing his face. "No word yet. We can only hope they're monitoring the situation." Just then, the Z-craft ships shifted slightly, their engines humming ominously. "We can't afford to let them dictate the narrative," Jonah said, feeling a mix of urgency and determination. "Let's step it up." He stepped forward and raised his arm, signaling the dancers. "We need to push forward. Lyra, get ready to lead them into an impressive formation." "Right," she said with confidence. "On my mark, everyone. Let's show them what we've got." As they prepared to switch formations, Jonah felt the air thicken. The Z-craft ships hovered directly overhead now, their dark shapes contrasting with the brilliant lights below. He could feel apprehension ripple through the crowd, but he wouldn't let that fear take hold. "They're here to watch," Jonah said, raising his voice. "Not to fight. Let's prove that we're worth seeing." Suddenly, a loud noise erupted from above, shaking the ground and drawing everyone's eyes to the sky. A voice boomed, loud enough to be heard over the music. "Humans, Arvedians, you dance with confidence, yet do not forget the danger you invite." Jonah felt his stomach drop, the fear creeping back in, but he forced himself to stand tall. "What do you want?" he shouted back, his voice steady. "We want to see if you truly have the strength to withstand power," the Z-craft voice replied, echoing with an imposing tone. "Prove your worth or face the consequences." "What kind of proof do you demand?" Jonah responded, stepping closer to the edge of the stage, emboldened by the crowd's presence behind him. "Show us that your unity can withstand a challenge," the voice hissed, dripping with disdain. "Or we will take what we want." In an instant, Jonah felt Lyra's hand grip his tightly. "This is our moment, Jonah," she whispered fiercely. "We can't allow them to intimidate us. We need to respond together." "Right?" he said, adrenaline surging through him. "Lyra, can we do a collaborative display? If they want a challenge, let's show them the strength of our combined cultures." "Yes, a duel of unity," she exclaimed, her spirit igniting alongside his. "Let's use everything we've practiced and combine our arts." Jonah turned back to the audience, determination surging through him. "We are ready to show our strength. Are you with me?" The crowd erupted in cheers, their voices rising with enthusiasm, and Jonah could feel the confidence building in the atmosphere. "Together," he called out, raising his arm high. "Now, bring forth the display." Lyra began to gather the dancers, instructing them to form lines, each group ready for its turn to contribute. Jonah focused on the rhythm of the drums that accompanied the music, pounding in synchronicity with their united heartbeat. As the drones began to spin out intricate patterns above, Jonah and the Arvedians initiated a swift dance that wove between cultures, a melding of human movements with tribal flourishes and earthy motions. "Let's show them," he shouted, spinning alongside Lyra. Their actions meshed into a tapestry of motion, reflecting the deep-rooted traditions of both species. The sky lit with the colors of Arvedi patterns woven into sequences that showcased strength, beauty, and connection. "We will not back down," Lyra shouted into the night, leading the dancers effortlessly. "We stand together." The Zekrath ships shifted again, carrying the weight of suspense. Jonah's heart hammered as he caught Marcus glancing at him from the side. It was the moment of truth. "Look," Marcus yelled, pointing toward the ships. "They're adjusting." Jonah's excitement surged when he saw the Zekrath ships begin to circle, their movements seemingly entranced by the vibrant display. "Keep going. Don't let up," Jonah urged the dancers, feeling the energy of the crowd propel him forward. The light show intensified, the colors blending and shifting in a way that mirrored their movements. The collective pulse of humanity and Arvedi resonated around them. Then, as if sensing the shift, the Zekrath voice returned, more piercing than before. "Your display is impressive, but can you withstand this?" Suddenly, a burst of energy shot from the Zekrath ship above, striking the ground near the stage. Dust flew into the air, and Jonah instinctively shielded Lyra, his heart racing as the crowd gasped. "Stand firm," he shouted, looking back into the crowd's eyes. "This is nothing. We will not yield to intimidation." As the dust settled, an energy pulse surged from the Zekrath ship, forming an expanding circle that swept toward the dancers like a monstrous wave. "Lyra," he yelled, clenching her hand. "We need to keep moving. We can dance around it." "Right," she said, determination shining in her eyes. They moved as one, every dancer mirroring their unity in response to the threat, moving back into formation with fluidity and grace. The crowd understood and fell back into rhythm, their movements growing fierce and defiant. "Let the Zekrath see our strength," Jonah bellowed, the words echoing through the night. "Together, we will stand." The display transformed. They shifted from celebration into a defensive stance that still flowed organically, a message of unity against aggression. Each movement resonated with a sense of purpose, a subtle signal to the Zekrath that they were not just individuals but a coalition. And as the energy circle approached, the dancers moved to meet it head-on. The strength of their collective actions pushed back against the wave, deflecting its momentum. Light and energy danced around them, igniting the air. Before his eyes, the wave dissipated against their combined spirit, and a collective cheer erupted from the audience, overwhelming the lingering remnants of fear. "Now's our chance," Jonah called out, seizing the moment. "Let's craft the finale." With an instinctive rhythm, they transitioned into one final sequence, embodying every symbol that represented their cultures. The lines of Arvedi forms, the boldness of earth movements, all incorporated into an outstanding display of artistry. As they flowed, Jonah felt an undeniable bond with Lyra, their hands still clasped tightly. On the last note, they leaped into the air, a moment of breathtaking beauty frozen in time. The Zekrath watchers, momentarily stunned, watched as the energy shifted. Jonah caught glimpses of hesitation flickering across their dark forms. Then, a sound erupted. A thundering applause from the gathering crowd washed over the square as cheers filled the night sky. The connection forged through dance had reached an apex that could not be denied. As silence wrapped around them like a blanket, the lead Zekrath leaned forward from his ship. "You fight differently than we expected. Your souls are intertwined." "Indeed," Jonah shouted back, his voice steady. "We stand together for a chance at understanding." With a slow shift, the Zekrath ship began to descend, hovering closer to the ground as the crowd held its breath. "Will you listen to our offer?" Jonah called out, hope igniting within him. The Zekrath leader's gaze bore down, assessing the courage that had risen from the heart of the crowd. "Very well. Show us what you are worth, and perhaps we will reconsider." As the Zekrath ships began to retract, Jonah turned to Lyra, exhilaration coursing through him. "Did we just do that?" "I think we did," she said, laughter bubbling over her excitement. Together, the crowd erupted into joyous celebration, and the colors of the night took on a new meaning, a vivid representation of their shared future. In that moment, Jonah couldn't help but feel that they had crossed a threshold into something transformative. As he embraced Lyra, the world around them glowed with potential. It was not just a new dawn, it was a new beginning. Together, they had taken a stand, and together they would forge a future unlike any before.